Welcome to the Blues Trail Revisited podcast, the special Juke Joint Festival edition. It's the premiere episode of the podcast, and I'm Ted Reed. This podcast is sponsored by the Clarksdale Tourism Commission, also known as Visit Clarksdale. This podcast is an offshoot of a film I finished this year about my return to the Mississippi Delta to rediscover the places I first encountered 50 years ago. I was a first-year film student in Boston when a friend got the idea to drive down south and look for the last living blues legends. We finished that film, and it sat in the vault until 3 years ago when I dusted it off, watched it again, and wondered how much had changed in the ensuing half-century. Being unabashedly curious, I took my cameraman Craig Kimberly on a 3-day drive to Memphis and then through Mississippi to retrace my steps from long ago. What we found became my new film, The Blues Trail Revisited. If you'd like to check it out, it's available at www.bluestrailrevisited.com. For the next 4 episodes, I'll be diving into the city of Clarksdale, Mississippi, where the 18th annual Juke Joint Festival is going on. From Thursday through Sunday, over 100 musical acts, mostly blues virtuosos, will be performing on outdoor and indoor stages around town. I want to hear from the musicians for sure, but I also want to capture some of the other attractions in Clarksdale. Even though there are about a dozen music festivals here, the cultural and historic landmarks go well beyond the music.
Got your love if you want it. Got your love if you want it. Got your love if you want it. But we can rock a while.
To find out more about that, I talked with Bubba O'Keefe, director of Visit Clarksdale, and one of the founders of the Juke Joint Festival. Okay, I'm talking to Bubba O'Keefe, who's the director of Visit Clarksdale, basically the tourism site for everything Clarksdale. If you want to know anything about where to go, where to eat, what to see, and what's happening in Clarksdale, visitclarksdale.com is the site for you. And we're fortunate enough to have Bubba spare us a few minutes out of his blindingly busy schedule this week because he was one of the originators of this festival. He's partially responsible for all this. Bubba, why don't you tell me how you got this? How did this start anyway?
Well, gosh, Ted, I don't even know how many years ago it was. It's just been. I guess it was about 19 years ago, 20 years ago that Roger Stolle came into Clarksdale. We had a little store that was called Sunflower River Trading, and Roger was one of our customers, and he moved here, and I was closing my store, and he basically sold him the building, and he opened up Cathead, and we had talked about doing different projects, and after about a year, I went in there on January the 28th, whatever year that was, and I remember the date because it was my birthday, and I said, Roger, let's do that deal. And Roger's comment was, which deal, And I said, let's do the festival. And right there, we laid out the plan for the Juke Joint Festival that came about in 2.5 months.
Wow.
And we started out with just a few, about 5 or 6 white tents that we had in the parking lot out here behind the Greyhound bus station, out in front of our train depot office here at Visit Clarksdale.
Right.
And I had 2 guys here locally that kind of helped sponsor it, and it was just homegrown, homespun, and it just took off from there. But we had 3 basic principles that we wanted to make sure that we covered, and one was we want to put business in businesses. We didn't have a main stage.
Right.
We didn't have a major sponsor that we were like a beer sponsor, that we were selling concessions out there for everybody. It wasn't contained. And the other thing was that we wanted it to people here locally to interact with the visitors. And
right.
to do that, to bring them here, we needed to make it kid-friendly. So hence, that's why you have monkeys riding dogs and event, and you have a pig racing team that comes every year. And I like to say that we're the only kid-friendly blues festival in the world.
If you like Bubba Grant, come on and give us some money. If you like Bubba Grant, come on and give us band. Everybody on the bandstand, won't you give the band? Give the band, give the band. yes. Thank you.
So were you a blues fan when you decided to get in with Roger and start this?
I was not necessarily a blues fan. I just love music, and I cut my teeth on the Beatles. Saw them. That's my claim to fame. I saw them live in Memphis at the Mid-South Coliseum when I was in the 3rd grade. The Beatles, Dave Clark 5, and James Brown, 3 different concerts up there. And I don't know what my mother was thinking to let me go up there with my brother, but it changed my life. I just loved music. I was not one to really study it. Come to find out years later that Fred McDowell used to work for my father at the Stuckey store at Como, Mississippi, and I used to sit out there by the gas pumps with Fred and visit with him, and had no idea, And it was decades later that my brother told me the story that he saw Fred's name on the back of a Rolling Stones record, and said, "Oh my gosh, I know Fred!" And he called Fred, and they hired him to play at a fraternity party where my brother was at college.
Okay. Witness to history. That's
Yeah.
great. Yeah, exactly. So, as director of Visit Clarksdale, I imagine you've got, quite a few things that you can tell people about that have nothing to do with music. What would they be?
Well, one of the things that I didn't know growing up here, that Tennessee Williams lived in Clarksdale, and a lot of as a young boy, his grandfather was rector of the Episcopal Church here, and his mother and his little sister and him moved here from Columbus, Mississippi, and lived there. And a lot of his stories or experiences that happened during his time in Clarksdale, and he was influenced a lot by the social visits that he accompanied his grandfather to members of the church, and just picked up stories and things. And so, it's just like, gosh, what else is there? You just start kind of digging around. We've got a great African American heritage history with Dr. King spoke here twice that I know of for sure. Elvis Presley played here twice at the City Auditorium in 1954. It's the kind of town that mostly the people come for the music, but they come back for the people. And we're kind of like Sesame Street. We have more characters than Sesame Street, and I'm one of them. And when you come, you'll be one of them too. But it's just a laid-back place that you just come and just, you don't get on an agenda. You go down to Red's Juke joint, listen to some music that night, or go over to Ground Zero, and you just kind of get to know the people. And one thing will lead to another. It's a very serendipitous experience.
One of the things I've noticed in my visits down there over the years is that every time I go down, there's like more to see, there are more places to stay, and there's certainly more variety of food now than ever before. For example, where can I get a good meal around here? Is it all fried chicken and grits, or do I have some choices?
Oh, you got a lot of choices. I mean, one thing about Clarksdale is that back in the 20s or early 1900s, we had a huge ethnic makeup of our community. You had Lebanese, Syrians, Greek, Italians, Chinese, just the whole mix. And so as a result, like you take barbecue at Abe's Barbecue, it's owned by the same Lebanese family since 1924. You've got Rest Havens that was Paula, who runs it now, owns it. She's the daughter of Shafiq Shamoun from Lebanon, and so they, if you want baked kibbe, fried kibbe, raw kibbe, grape leaves, tabbouleh, that's the place to go. They have a great morning breakfast. It's the quintessential American diner. It's American food and Lebanese. You've got 2 restaurants here that are owned by 2 Australians that came here to open up restaurants. But you go for the ambiance of the place, the experience, because it's the personalities of each of these owners that just is fluid in every establishment. It's not a cookie cutter restaurant that you'll see in any city or town, or but it's the real touch of the people that make it the difference.
Exactly. If you want to go to a chain restaurant, you can definitely go out on the highway and do that. But downtown, it's just like this incredible assortment of great places.
And also, we've got 2 great coffee shops, Meraki, and the other one is the Yazoo Pass. Meraki roasts their own coffee, and it's got a great story. Everything has a story behind it too. It's not just a place that makes these things unique, but it's the story behind it. How did they get here?
Right.
What's the purpose? What's your mission? It's more than just the food.
Well, man, let's have a successful Juke Joint Festival this year, because I think it's a lot of people are raring to go. It's been a lot of pent up anticipation for some kind of live music anywhere, and I know that there are a lot of folks coming there that are just looking for a way to be able to live that again.
Well, they're streaming in as we speak. They've been coming in for the last 2 days, and all the hotels are booked, and we're promoting the safety protocol and all of that for the musicians and their guests. And so we just look forward to everybody having a good, safe time. And
All right. Bubba, thank you very much. Bubba O'Keefe, director of Visit Clarksdale. Go to their website, visitclarksdale.com, if you want to find out everything about Clarksdale that you would ever possibly want to know, and what else there is to do down there when there isn't a Juke Joint Festival. So, Bubba, thanks again.
absolutely. Be sure to download the Visit Clarksdale app that you can get at your app store. It's free.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Another founder of the festival is St. Louis transplant Roger Stowley, who left a prestigious job in advertising to move lock, stock, and barrel to Clarksdale almost 20 years ago. Like me, he was following his dream of visiting where the greats of the blues came from. Now he's known as one of the most enthusiastic supporters of the birthplace of the blues. The Juke Joint Festival is his baby, too. Welcome to the Blues Trail Revisited podcast, Roger. The special Juke Joint Festival podcast. It's an honor to talk with you once again.
Yes, thank you, Ted. I'm very excited to be on the new podcast. And, of course, Visit Clarksdale Tourism here in Clarksdale is super happy to be involved with it. And Juke Joint Festival is super happy to be highlighted by it.
There you go. No, Visit Clarksdale has been an enthusiastic supporter of the podcast here, so we are more than happy to be associated with them. First of all, what is the Juke Joint Festival, and how long has it been happening?
Sure. So Juke Joint Festival here in Clarksdale, Mississippi is half blues festival, half small town fair, and all about the Delta. Bubba O'Keefe, who is currently our Visit Clarksdale tourism director, and I founded it in, I can tell you, the day we started it was January 28th. That'd be 2004, which is Bubba's birthday. And that April was the very first Juke Joint Festival, a small version compared to what we do now. Right. And the concept behind it is not only to showcase the best of blues from around the world, but primarily from Mississippi, but also to, as sort of a secret mission, get locals involved who might not otherwise get involved with a blues festival per se. You know, it's stunning, I know, but not every, Clarksdale Mississippian is a blues fan per se. So the idea was to incorporate not only dozens of real deal blues acts, but also monkeys riding dogs, herding sheep out of Pontotoc, Mississippi, racing pigs, arts and crafts, food, student and children's activities, things of that nature.
Wow. Okay. Something for everybody. And, of course, converting people to the blues, right?
Well, that's the thing. The other part of that is that you bring people into something that they think maybe, they either don't like, or they're not interested in, or they know nothing about. And they get not only the blues music, but because we are Clarksdale, Mississippi, and as our name Juke Joint Festival infers, we involve the real deal blues venues as well. So it pulls people not only into the music, but into the culture and the characters and the history of this genre that is at the root of just about all, certainly American and Western modern music, pop music.
Yes. I remember my first Juke Joint Festival experience was a mind blower, and I'd never seen that much music concentrated into such a compact space. So the weather this year is looking pretty decent.
Oh, we don't talk about the weather, Ted.
Okay.
it's the risks involved.
Fine.
But yes, it is.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
of course, this year is our pandemically modified Juke Joint Festival.
Right. I was
And
going to ask you
part of
about, it was canceled last year and because of the pandemic.
So last year, apparently there was some kind of worldwide pandemic last year. I don't know. I've been reading about it. And so it caused us to, on March 23rd of last year, have to cancel the festival officially, which would have been in mid-April. And quickly we spun around and not only went through all the work of canceling everything that we had set up over the month, but then turned it on to an online live streaming experience, thanks to the help of a bunch of sponsors, thanks to the help of you with what you did with your documentary we streamed as well, but also Colleen Byers and live from Clarksdale.org. And folks may want to note that live from Clarksdale.org is Clarksdale's streaming service. There's a live blues stream every day out of Clarksdale. And she and her partner David helped us to create an online version of Juke Joint Festival last year. It was a 9-hour, 27-act live stream experience. And it was capped off by, of course, the Ted Reed documentary, Juke Joint Festival Revisited. And it was really a fabulous thing at a time when I think people really needed it, just for the morale of, music fans all around the world.
This year's Juke Joint Festival is one of the first in-person music festivals in the country, if not the world. So besides that, what's really different this year?
Sure. So, we did have the opportunity. We could have moved our festival or postponed our festival or canceled our festival. But we decided to do a pandemically modified version. And what that means is, if you're going to be around people, we're asking you to put on a mask. If you're going to be around people, we're asking you to social distance, hand sanitize often, all the things we know to do, and we'll make it super easy. We have spent tens of thousands of dollars on health and safety equipment and supplies and personnel. We also will have COVID vaccine shots available at the festival on Saturday as well for those who haven't gotten it yet. Maybe where you live, you're having trouble getting it, come to Clarksdale and you can get it. No problem on Saturday. But beyond that, of course, we're presenting, frankly, way more music than I thought we would. when we're talking about a smaller, socially distanced, more outdoor, pandemically modified festival, at first I envisioned a lot less music. But we still, I don't know the total number of acts. Last year I had booked 107 acts for the festival that didn't happen.
Right.
This year it's probably more like 70. I'm not sure offhand. Essentially, we have spaced the acts out a little further between performances on the day stages, so that musicians are not crossing the stage at the same time. For example, we can sanitize, things of that nature.
Right.
And of course, the nighttime venues, there will be, lower capacities in terms of the number of people in there. We're not going to pack them in past fire code like maybe some years possibly may have happened. And some of the nighttime events will technically be outdoors, even though they're in, fenced and controlled areas. So we've done all of those things to present a whole lot of music and a whole lot of great experience. There'll be, all the barbecue and all that kind of stuff on the street. We do have the monkeys riding dogs, herding sheep, and they're racing pigs. We'll have fewer kid activities, since a lot of those are very touchy-feely, and we don't think that's a good thing for this year. But there will be things for families as well. The animal acts, for example, there is the student art and writing exhibit. It's always really cool. And there'll be some history walking tours, just a ton of music. Yeah, most of it's blues. So if you're a blues fan, this is the thing. There's a couple, what I guess you call Americana at this point, singer-songwriter act mixed in, and some special, special workshop-y type things. So there's a whole lot, and it's all at jukejointfestival.com, and that's Juke, jukejointfestival.com, if people want to see this year's lineup and details. And what you'll also want to note is on the homepage, there is a list of upcoming Juke Joint Festival dates. So really it's 4 years of dates there, so you could plan ahead if you're not able to, hit the road right at this moment. The one piece of advice I would give folks, and this may sound ridiculous, but like if you want to come next year, you need to book those hotel rooms now before the festival happens this weekend.
Oh, absolutely.
Because the folks who come,
Yeah.
the folks who come, they always want to get their rooms again for next year. It makes it really hard for new folks to get in. Even though we at Clarksdale keep building new hotels, keep building more overnight apartments, and of course Airbnb keeps growing. So plan ahead. Believe me, if their policy allows you to cancel, it won't be a problem because someone will take that room as soon as you do if you can't come next year.
Off the top of your head, who are some of the key acts that will be performing this weekend?
Sure. So Thursday afternoon, evening kickoff, a big free event outside the Delta Blues Museum, features Kingfish, Christone Ingram, who I don't think it is all an exaggeration to say is the future of blues. I mean, period.
Absolutely.
He's 22 years old, born and raised in Clarksdale, Mississippi, learned from, the guys who were here, many of whom are gone. Started with the Delta Blues Museum's Arts and Education program, which actually took him to the White House as a young kid, which was really cool.
Right.
And he, of course, I lose track of my years now with the pandemic, but I guess 2019, is when his debut album came out. And, of course, that was up for a Grammy nomination. Buddy Guy helped to fund that album. Buddy Guy, Kev Mo, and some of the big names in blues have been really his mentors.
Right.
And so he is just a fine young man. I'm telling you, he is impressive. I could not handle an interview at 22 years old like he can.
Oh, he's
very
great.
insightful.
Yeah. We're going to be talking to him later, so looking forward to that.
He's just a great young man. His mother and his father did a fine job raising him, and his mom was at every single gig until he hit big in spring of 2019. And of course, sadly, she's no longer with us,
right.
Princess. But really, you can just tell he had good support from his family. The Arts and Education program at the Delta Blues Museum really got him going. And if folks can't see Kingfish at the Thursday night Juke Joint Festival kickoff this year, I encourage them to seek him out once he starts touring the world again.
But that's an excellent kickoff, definitely.
Yes. So we have all kinds of really great acts that truly showcase the past, present, and future of not only Clarksdale blues, but Mississippi blues and blues in general. So, of course, he would be one of the highlights of the young generation, being 22 years old. We have, in the more 30-ish age range, Anthony Big A Sherrod is an incredible guitar player, blues guitar player. He grew up in the juke joints here, learning some of the bad habits, too, I'm sure, but, all the good habits as well. The musical habits of the greats who are gone now, and he really and truly learned from all of them because as a little kid, he was a prodigy, and they would hire him to play bass or drums or guitar. And he is like they say Robert Johnson was, in that if he hears a song once or plays with somebody on a song once, he's got that song. And, he may not play it again for 10, 15 years, but suddenly he'll play it. And you're like, wait a second, who used to do that song? And you'll think about it, yep, he played with them at the such and such. Also, of course, James Super Chicken Johnson for maybe the 60-year-old bracket of blues. And Super Chicken is truly unique because not only did he grow up in the juke joints, the house parties of Clarksdale and the Delta, not only was were his uncles Big Jack Johnson and Big George Brock, so he obviously learned from family, but he also felt he was so competitive having relatives like that he had to find his own niche. And so he did. He's written incredible, unique songs, builds his own homemade instruments. He's really found a niche that, tips the hat to the folks he played with and learned from, but also takes it in his really specific Super Chicken direction. If you're going to call yourself Super Chicken, you better be unique anyway.
Yeah. Well, you get a lot of bang for your buck at this festival, I got to say. It's always a good time all around, day and night. and you meet some just terrific people, some folks that are just so into the blues and just so into this kind of music. And I imagine this year they're going to be quite relieved that they can actually come in person and hear and see all of this.
Oh, I know. I had a little bit of music out from my store 2 Saturdays ago, and when the band was tuning up, a gentleman came in misty-eyed and said, I'm going to be misty-eyed saying this story, actually, and said to me, I've not heard live music in over a year. Just hearing them tune up makes me tear up.
Here's to the Juke Joint Festival 2021. Let it be a great success for everybody. And we'll be talking with you as the weekend continues. And thank you very much for your time, Roger. This is great. Want to remind everybody, if you are in Clarksdale, do drop in at the Cathead Delta Blues and Folk Art store. And if you're not in town, check out their website because it's pretty pretty amazing.
Cathead.biz.
Yep.
Also, I just want to send a shout out to you, Ted. You're one of our favorite folks who comes as a regular.
Yes.
And for people who don't know, we featured films by Ted at our film festival in January the past 2 years, and we hope to continue that relationship in the future.
Absolutely. All right, Roger. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
And we are particularly excited at Juke Joint Festival. Look, I'm going to get misty-eyed saying this, but to have Mr. Kingfish, Christone Ingram, back playing here in Clarksdale, kicking off the event.
One of the most recently famous musicians to come out of Clarksdale is Christone Kingfish Ingram. Those of us who have seen him live can't wait to see him again, and this year he's the opening act for the Juke Joint Festival. We talked to him before the show. Just wanted to ask you, last time I saw you was at a gig in Boston on March 5th of last year, just before the world shut down. Things for you were taking off like a rocket, and then suddenly there are no tours, no concerts, no dates anywhere. What did you do to keep yourself going?
Well, I kind of just pretty much like utilized my time. I found out about Zoom, and we wanted to get this second record, into the light. So me and buddy guy's longtime producer Tom Hambridge, we pretty much did Zoom songwriting sessions every Thursday, like from I want to say May all up until till September, till we went to go record the record. So I pretty much just utilized the time by songwriting, and I also played on a few people's records as well, and I did a couple of live streams, so I wasn't too bored.
Okay, all right. Yeah, how often do you get back to Clarksdale, just to visit, or are you still living there?
Oh, I still live here. I live in a town on the outskirts called Friars Point, but it's still in Coahoma County.
Oh yeah, up by the river. That's nice.
Right.
Yeah. So, when do you think you'll be touring again?
Man, hopefully, I want to say by June or July.
Okay.
I know fully around summer.
Okay, great. Well, hopefully you'll make it up north.
Yeah.
You got you got a fan base in Boston for sure.
Oh man, thank you guys, man. We have fun every time we come up there. I actually remember the show you're talking about actually.
Oh yeah. It was the Brighton Music Hall. And,
right.
Yeah. And the crowd was just like you had them in the palm of your hand.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. They were great. So, what's on the new album? Are you sort of branching out into some more different styles? I've been hearing some jazz kind of stuff coming out of you these days.
Yeah, man, I'm glad you said that because for this record, we put like some different chord progressions in. Kind of we didn't go too far outside the box. We're still doing the blues and rock thing,
right.
But I wanted to like showcase a different side. Everybody knows me for the whole like electric, and screeching guitar. So we got a couple of songs on there that I'm using like acoustics and pretty much just playing different chord progressions and different different melodic jazz lines and stuff like that. So definitely got some new stuff. You never heard before from me on there as well. So
all right, okay, keeping it fresh. That's excellent.
For sure.
Yeah, okay. So, what advice do you have for young musicians who are in love with the blues? What's the most important thing they can do, to get their careers going?
Always respect the tradition, but no, you can take it anywhere you want to, but you always have to, you always have to respect that tradition and have that foundation, because without that, you wouldn't even be trying to take it anywhere else. So just always have a sense of the culture and the tradition when you play the blues, because a lot of people think that it's all about guitar and solo, and it goes a whole lot deeper than that. So just so for me, if any young person that want to get out into the blues, learn about the culture and the history before you like get into the actual genre, for sure.
Exactly. All right. Well, listen, man. Have a great gig tonight. I mean, this was, I think, an incredible treat for anybody who's at the Juke Joint Festival this year to be able to catch you live as sort of the kickoff act. I think that's going to be great. So have a great time, man. Are you going to stick around for the festival, or you got some other stuff you need to do?
Yeah. This is the only day that we're playing, so I'm gonna be hanging out, a couple of days, seeing some friends and jamming for sure.
All right. So that's a treat for whoever's coming. They can see Kingfish.
Cool.
Walking the streets of Clarksdale. Excellent. All right, man. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for the opportunity, man. Thank you.
Okay, Kingfish Ingram from Clarksdale, Mississippi. Thank you. I'd like to thank everyone for listening to episode 1 of the Blues Trail Revisited podcast in partnership with Visit Clarksdale. You can watch the film that inspired this podcast by going to www.bluestrailrevisited.com. And you can find out a lot more about Clarksdale, Mississippi by going to visitclarksdale.com. Next time on the Blues Trail Revisited podcast, we'll be celebrating the first official day of the Juke Joint Festival, so don't miss it. Until then, I'm Ted Reed, and keep on bluesing.